everyone. You're watching Build Series in New York City, and I'm Laura Muraski with HuffPost. Bjorn and John formed in 1999, going on to release their self-titled debut album in 2002. 4 years later, they scored a big hit with the song Young Folks and have been touring and making music ever since. Now the Swedish trio are out with Darker Days, their 8th studio album. Please welcome Pete and Bjorn of Bjorn and John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for coming to Build. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you here. A few weeks after the album was released, how are you feeling now that it's out in the world?
Feel like this.
Little relief?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a little bit in the making. I know you kind of took a more simpler approach, is how you're describing it this time. Why so for this album?
I think if we would have made it more difficult than the last album, it would have been not possible. It was 5 years in the making and
6 producers.
6 producers at least. And what else? Every instrument in Sweden.
Yeah.
And the world.
And the world.
Yeah. So we just went back to how we used to do it, basically, which produce ourselves. Yeah. So, yeah, that's just 3 producers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit half.
Yeah, so how does that work with that? Because I know with this album, you sort of like squirreled away and sort of wrote your own songs and then came together and decided, okay, these are the ones we're going to record, right?
We started with the title Darker Days, and then we kind of saw what we had in the drawers, maybe assembled some old songs and wrote some new songs to go with that title. So songs that would fit the theme, so to speak.
Yeah, we even had the cover, actually.
Yeah.
We started with that.
We started with the cover, yeah.
So it's like a lot of times that comes after when you're making an album. It's like, all right, we have the album, now what's our title, what's our artwork? So what was it about Darker Days that really inspired you? Because it's, it's a darker day. Are we in darker days right now?
Yes.
It's getting darker, sure. And no, we had a song called Darker Days, and we worked on it for the last album, but it didn't make it. But we liked the title of it, and it sort of flew around when we were deciding titles for this. So it felt like everybody was in on the idea.
And what about the artwork for this in terms of, you said that came out early, like who was behind that?
It was actually, should we say this? Is it allowed? Or is it a secret? It was a leftover artwork for Breakin Point. Yeah. Okay. But maybe it's even better, actually. But it didn't fit that record. So the designer made a couple of options.
It was the same guy that made Gimme Some and Breakin Point and some other things for us. So we had it. We liked it a lot. So it's sort of us, I don't know, forming a whole by, I don't know, breaking up and our bones.
Yeah, and it sort of fit these songs and this record better. Yeah.
When you talk about Darker Days, for you, what does Darker Days mean to you?
It can mean a ton of different things, and it means a tons of different things on this record too. We started about thinking about the darker days of the long Swedish winters. And that doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be sort of an inspiring, creative, melancholic space. But then we incorporated, midlife crisis maybe, or relationship troubles, but also like the dark state of the world. Yeah. So there's a couple of slightly political things as well.
In Sweden, we always think about when it's going to get darker. So we have a short summer and you feel like, well, it's sunny today, but soon it's going to get darker, and then we can go inside again.
It's always looming, right? It's
this is just 2 days of summer, and then you go inside again.
You mentioned that this record, you kind of went back to the producing thing, then bringing in lots of producers. What did that bring to this album that you're proud of?
I think maybe just seeing that you can actually pull it off yourself and making a great album. And I'm especially proud that it holds together so well as an album. Even though we kind of produced separate songs, it really fits, maybe because it was done in the same studios, and we, more than we maybe think, have similar oral taste, so to speak. So we kind of like the same sounds.
It's like when you get a bunch of kids and you say like, you go ahead and play. We can go wherever you want, and then you just like sit at the same place, right?
Yeah,
Something.
yeah.
Like
You know, you've been at this for a while, though. Do you feel like you're still growing and learning as musicians? And if so, how?
No.
No, not at all.
Well, we've been on it for a while, yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. What's so nice now is that we actually allowed ourselves to look back on our catalog and our legacy, even if you could say so, and kind of get inspired by ourselves rather than trying to take all kinds of left turns and look at what other people do. It's kind of nice to just feel, yeah, what are we, you know? And also, one thing you have to think about when you've done music so long is to not get too professional and kind of remember that when you have that naivety and sort of stupidness of a younger person starting out, you can actually make great stuff. So sometimes you have to like trick yourself into being stupid.
We're not talking about alcohol now.
No.
We just, no.
Yeah. Just those, I mean, you know, 20 years in or when, you know, here, you know, what, did you make those mistakes early on? Were there mistakes or stupid things that you did early on that you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like,
On the
I
first
regret
album,
that.
we didn't know like how to make it. We knew it was going to be 10 songs. That was sort of like, that's an album, right? So, but we didn't know how to make an album. So we had to make it up as we went along. And now we know this is the 8th album, right? So
Yeah.
now we know how to make albums. But we also like the mistakes and, I don't know, happy accidents or whatever you call it, you know.
Yeah,
that
sometimes
process,
the best
yeah.
things come from those happy accidents,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Were there a lot of songs that did not make the record?
Not loads. I mean, a couple maybe. Yeah, but no, it's a good like to have a sort of defined timeline and just put up your own deadline. And I think that's really good for just finishing things. I think that's great. Everyone should have that, even though we didn't have anyone pushing us. It was just ourselves. But so no, not too many leftovers this time.
Would you say there's a lot of great songs on this record? If you've listened to it, it's really cool. Is there a song that really stands out to you that's like, okay, this really defines the record for me? Maybe it's one that you brought to the fold.
My personal favorite of the songs I wrote is probably "Living a Dream." I love that one. It's kind of a personal song, but also one of John's called "Heaven and Hell" is really fantastic. I think. Yeah.
What about you?
I like, I don't know, I like Sick and Tired.
Yeah. Why so?
I don't know, it just, it's a bit different vibe on that one. We haven't played it live, but we tried it yesterday. Let's see, gonna do it later on the tour. We're doing
Right, that sound check.
Yeah.
We got to work on that a little bit.
Yeah, you're on tour. You're playing Bowery Ballroom while you're here in New York, which is great.
Yeah.
Great venue. What's it like putting together a tour these days, even like now or versus compared to, you know, 5-10 years ago? You have so much more music to choose from.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love that because you can sort of swap it up and people are not, they can't be sure what we're going to play because we kind of change the set list around. And also you have lots of different songs that could fill the same position in a set. So it's all about pacing and kind of putting it together. So I enjoy it more than ever, actually.
What about you?
It's all about remembering lyrics, I think. That's what it is.
Really? Is that a challenge for you sometimes? Like, oh man, we haven't played this in like 5 years. We got to really...
I guess Peter's singing most of it, and he remembers most of it too.
Yeah. You don't have like a cheat sheet on stage at all with the lyrics?
Tell the printer.
No. I mean, the new songs are the hardest because we haven't sung them so much. So.
Yeah. So the tour will probably be a mix of new and old.
It's very mixed up. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years ago was that Young Folks really like hit really big? I mean, that was how many?
12, 11, 12, I don't know.
2007 here.
Yeah, so it's been about 10 years, right?
Yeah.
A little over 10 years.
2007, yeah.
I think Rolling Stone named it like one of the best songs of the century.
Yeah, good of them.
Good of them.
Yeah. Good pick.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Not the best song, but one of the best songs.
Yeah, was that a song that, you had been
We have
making
more
music
songs
for...
too, so...
I know you have more songs than that, of course, but like, was that a song that you knew, like, okay, this is the one that's going to really break us into the, mainstream?
No, we didn't know at all at that point.
At that point, it was more like, oh, this is a cool song. We can play this to our friends and not like vomit. That was sort of the action. Like, listen to this song and then like, oh, they like it. Cool.
Yeah, it was kind of different.
Goodbye.
That was the main difference, that it was different than the other songs. And it's still kind of different, I guess, which is interesting.
Yeah, but I also think it's different than what was going on at the time too.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's
absolutely.
part of the reason why it stuck with people, right?
Yeah, totally.
What was the inspiration that behind that song then, and what do you think about when you play it now?
The inspiration we don't think about so much. It was more about avoiding sounding like Duke Ellington. Actually, because it was like a piano thing.
Yeah, it was
first,
a jazz thing.
And it sounded like, oh, this is going to be a rip-off of Duke Ellington and his Asian, whatever, trips.
Asian Duke Ellington.
Yeah. So we just, okay, let's do something else. And then we did that. And it came out like something else too. So that was the inspiration, I guess. And
yeah,
now it's just inspiring to see that people still like it so much, when we play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't get boring. Do you feel like your life changed after that, and if so, how?
It certainly did. I mean, we're still in the band now. We're still touring, making records. At that point, that wasn't so sure.
Yeah.
Because we made 2 records before it that we really liked, and nothing much happened. So we were sort of thinking about giving up the band. Yeah, so we said we're gonna make one more record, and
we're gonna play one more Chinese restaurant.
Yeah,
make one more record in Sweden.
Yeah, exactly. And then we made another record and see what happens. So it's kind of everything is a bonus after that,
Yeah. I mean, to what do you owe your longevity?
I think one of the reasons is that we all write songs, so we kind of not just one dictatorship band. That's a good thing, and we still inspire each other because we're sort of different people and different musicians, but we have a certain chemistry together that no one else can come up with, and not even ourselves can come up with that with other people. And that's something you have to build for almost 20 years. It's not just a random thing. So it would be a shame to throw it away like lighthearted. Yeah.
Well, take us back to when you first started too, because we were young. I mean, how
me and Bjorn was 15, 16. Yeah.
So how did this even begin for people who don't know the history of the band?
We were in school together and we started, I don't know, we liked the same sort of music. But we didn't have a drummer. We had a drum machine. And we played with the drum machine for a long time. And then after a couple of years, we found John, and it was
we had auditions.
Good drummer.
We had auditions.
We had different drummers too, but we when we found him, it was he also liked the same stuff that we liked, so it was.
Yeah. Well, speaking of stuff that you like, we referencing that. What are the inspirations from when you were young, and are you influenced by anybody now?
What we all liked when we got together was bands like the Lilies and. Costello and I can't remember, Stone Roses maybe and stuff like that, and the sort of lo-fi stuff maybe.
Yeah, I mean we sort of have a bit different backgrounds maybe, but at that point it was a lot of the lo-fi stuff, But I'm from the beginning sort of a 60s pop guy. That was all I listened to as a kid. Bjorn was more into synth pop as a
more like
kid.
80s pop guy.
Yeah, and John was heavy metal, so we were really different in the beginning, actually.
Yeah, but through time, it seems like you kind of
and then we went away again, and now But it's good too that you don't. I don't think you should like the same stuff totally.
If someone would hear this, it would be like we sounded like ZZ Top in the 80s something. If they would combine this.
Imagine.
Yeah.
If Bjorn and John go ZZ Top. You never know, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, the type of thing, like, do you see yourself doing this for a very long time? And if you weren't doing this, what would you think you'd be doing?
We take 1 year at a time and see what happens. We had a deal years ago, maybe 10 years ago, we made a deal, or not 10 years ago, because that was after Writer's Block, but I don't know, 9 years ago maybe.
Okay, let's say 9 years ago.
Yeah. We made a deal that we were going to make 10 albums. So we have a couple left, but after that, we'll see what happens. You know, like if we still enjoy it, we'll still do it, and maybe we take a break, maybe we don't take a break. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
that deal seems a bit vague.
Yeah, it's a bit vague. Yeah.
We're on number 8, so 2 more to go.
Yeah, and one is instrumental too.
Yeah. So we'll keep you. Well,
so I don't know.
You don't mean that don't count?
Is that a half record?
8.5.
Yeah.
You know. I want to get to some audience questions in a bit, but I want to do a little speed round question and answer with you guys to ask a little bit about your favorite things, etc. So, do you remember the first concert you ever attended?
The first concert I ever attended, I do remember it. I'm not sure if it's so interesting for you guys, but it was Bjorn Yttling and Janne Schaffer.
Okay.
Yeah, which is like Swedish, what should we call them? Musicians. Or they, Bjorn Yttling played the flute and was he a keyboard player? Yeah. I'm asking you because I'm not sure.
Yes, he was. Very good.
Yeah.
That was sort of like beautiful instrumental music.
Yeah, it was instrumental music. And I think I went to that show because I come from a really small town in rural Sweden. And I guess I was into music already then, but it wasn't a lot of music around. So it wasn't like I had listened to them or anything. Huh. It was more like, yeah, there's some music, a concert. Do you want to go to a concert? Okay.
Concert sounds interesting.
Yeah.
What is this concert thing?
Yeah. Let's try that. So that was my first show.
What about you?
Yeah, I can't even remember. Yeah. But let's say it was the Boppers, which was Swedish
rockabilly cover bands.
Yeah.
But they were really big
in the
80s, yeah.
Okay. All right. What about one of the most influential artists or even albums or songs that, you know, that still inspires you today?
Wow. That's a big one. I'm going to go really like cliche now because it's been the 50th anniversary and they had this new deluxe box. So I'm going to go White Album. Nice. Yeah.
That's great. What about you?
I like the Duke Ellington and John Coltrane album when they play jazz together. I don't know what it's called, but you know which one it is.
Yeah. Those are both great, very different, but also very good.
Yeah.
Do you ever have time to watch TV? Watch anything?
I stream, you know, like stuff.
Yeah. What's the last thing you streamed? You streamed stuff. All right.
The streaming thing. What is it?
Oh wow. What's the last thing I streamed?
Or one of the favorite things that
Make something up. This is
Make
TV,
something
right?
up.
It's live.
Yeah.
Quiet time.
Oh, I'm having a block out now. Can you help? Can you help me?
Yeah, I can't because I don't really watch that much. But I'm streaming hockey.
Oh, okay.
Which is also entertainment.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
I'm gonna go cliche again now.
Okay.
Because there's a anniversary for Ingmar Bergman this year.
Yep.
I think it was
great guy.
It was 100 years or something. What was it?
80.
I'm asking you.
I don't know. He would turn. He's not alive, but
no, he's not alive anymore. But
and they celebrated that twice in Sweden, both last year and this year.
Yeah, they keep on celebrating.
Pretty good.
And there's been portions of I used to study film as when I was younger, so film studies, and there's definitely some points to people who think he's very overrated at parts sometimes, but I've been watching some of the movies again this year because they were streaming on Swedish streaming.
All right.
And some of them are still really good, so you should check them up. Yeah, I like this Through a Glass Darkly.
Okay.
That's great.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for playing along with my little game here. We have some questions from the crowd here, from the fans. So let's get to it.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Hey, how are you?
Today, the new record is slammin'.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to ask a more traditional question, but then I was reading an article about you guys, and it said, quote, their first gig was an unsuccessful one aboard a boat in Stockholm. Is that true?
It's true, yeah.
I'd love to hear that story.
I know.
Bad boat gigs. What's up? Did you fall off the boat?
What boat did you say it was?
It said it was your first gig was an unsuccessful gig aboard a boat in Stockholm.
Yeah,
it's true.
What was that about?
It was this sort of a shrimp ferry or something.
Boat,
yeah, like they were serving shrimps, and for some reason they had like a demo stage for on.
We tried really hard for a couple of months to get on that show, get that slot.
No one turned up.
And then when we got it was 5 people and a dog watching us.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's true.
The dog was just there for the shrimp.
Yeah.
Probably.
I do remember one funny thing about that show is we actually played the Smokey Robinson cover.
We did.
We haven't
We
done
also
that
got paid in
since.
shrimps.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Got to throw it back in your repertoire, right?
Yeah.
All right. Next question, back there.
Hi.
Hey.
So I was wondering if there was anything that you guys did particularly with your music to try to appeal to the American or other Western markets outside of the main EU territories, because obviously, like, the American market can be really hard to break into for an international act. And so, since you've had success with that, I was wondering if there was any steps you took to accomplish that.
No.
Interesting. Well, I mean, steps and steps. I mean, we sing in English. That's the start. You know, people sing in Swedish don't necessarily do so well here, but they can. There's one band do that. No, but we just we didn't even think about anything else than like Stockholm when we did our music. It wasn't like an option to like go anywhere else.
No.
So
We just
no.
tried to make music we liked ourselves. But yeah.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks for that question. I think I have time for one more question.
Hi.
Right.
Hi.
So I was just wondering, what are some of your favorite things to do when you're in New York City?
Wow.
I can start. I like to play tennis at the East River courts. They're not very club-like, maybe, but they're really they're inspiring. It's by the Williamsburg Bridge.
Anything?
Yeah. I could add, I mean, this is one of the towns we've spent most times, apart from Sweden, maybe. We even lived here a short period. So every time I come here, if I have time, I just like walking the streets. And that goes for any town. So I just walk. And then I get late for sound check and I just keep walking.
Then I'm sound checking like crazy, and then we go eat.
Sometimes I eat too, yeah. So walking and eating are like the essential things for me, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for spending the afternoon with us. Really excited about the new album. It's out now. It's called Darker Days. They're also on tour, so check them out. Give it up for Bjorn and John, everyone.
Thank you.